Hello and welcome to another episode of We Don't Talk About Uno, a podcast about Disney Lorcana, a trading card game. I'm here with my co-host who actually met Aladdin's genie and all he asked for was long pauses in conversations.
Hello.
It's David. How are we doing?
I have a confession.
What's your confession, David?
Well, have you seen, so there's 7 cards out.
There are 7 cards.
An 8th card was spoiled. Spoiled means that it was revealed online. You aware of this?
I wasn't aware of this.
This is Mickey the Sorcerer.
Oh, okay. Well, there have been lots of rumours because it was in the... Yeah, okay. Brilliant.
Yeah, so there was this guy who has a Lorcana channel on YouTube, and he went onto the Lorcana website, and he was like, this website there's not much here. So he dug into the code, and he found a link to ravensburger.com/Easter egg.
Oh, so this is a secret.
This is a secret.
Okay.
So I was watching this video and I went to ravensburger.com/Easter egg. It's not a dead link, it redirects the homepage. So I was like, oh, now it's been found. Ravensburger have like hidden it. It was like
Well, I mean, if that's the URL, come on, they obviously wanted it to be found, but sure.
Okay, well, that was my theory, but he had the card in his video and it was amazing. So I took a screenshot of it and I put it on our Twitter.
On our Twitter?
On our Twitter, the one that we share for the podcast. 8th card spoiled. Here it is. Of course, people then told me it was a prank immediately. So that's my confession. I did take it down as soon as I knew.
I feel like we need to address how gullible you are, David.
I'm not usually. You know I love sources and data, and that's why I was so gutted about it. And he even says at the end of the video, and this is how people, well, I guess people work out another way, but he says, if you watch the end of the video, which I didn't do at that time, he's like, yeah, I made this card myself. But he did it so well because even the flavor text was like hidden in the pages, Mickey such and such. And it's like, yeah, he did a good job of the fake.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what to say to the listeners. I'm sorry for David.
I'm sorry too.
Right. Okay. So before we get started with the podcast, that was item number 1. We just wanted to do before we get into today. So I'll tell you what we're doing today. Today we're going to be talking about the money side of trading card games and the I was about to say crazy amounts of money, but the amounts of money. I'm going to try and be less judgmental in my life that people have been spending on the existing Lorcana cards. We're then going to be talking, we've got the child back, which is very exciting. Beck won't be joining us today, but I just wanted to thank her for the episode she recorded with us last week, and we've had loads of people saying that was really good, so we'll try and get her back on again very soon. But we just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping, and I'm going to adjust my microphone as I say this. Oh, it did it without making a noise. That's incredible. Anyway, the housekeeping really was just that a lot of people have been getting in touch saying, how can we help and how can we support and how can we get involved with the channel? Now, right at the moment, we're not doing a Patreon. We're not really looking for sponsors or anything like that, just because, I mean, we're on episode 3. So if you want to help out, there's one way you can do it, and that is that however you're listening to us, just click all of the buttons on that app. So if you're on YouTube, just do the like and subscribe thing. And if you're in a podcast app, you can write a review. Well, if it's good. If it's good, all right. And anything like that.
Leave us a comment on YouTube. Let us know your favourite part of the episode as well.
Yeah, comments on YouTube goes a long way. 2 things. Firstly, they help the algorithm, and secondly, they help me and my little reptile brain go, oh, there's some dopamine. I'll make some more content. Yeah, it's always great to hear from you guys. The other thing we've had people get in contact about is about being a guest on the show, and we do want to have more guests on, just like Beck and just like the child. However, at the moment, we've got the next few episodes mapped out, so we're not going to be doing that for a couple of episodes longer, and then when we do, we'll be reaching out to people. So if you want to be a guest, feel free to send us a message, but just know that it won't be for the next few weeks.
Thanks, Simeon.
Anything else we needed to get out in the way at the start?
I think that point about encouraging us with comments and reviews is really nice, because you've been sending me messages this week about how most podcasts don't last beyond the third episode, and this is the fated third episode. So I'm quite excited to get these messages, and this is a surprise. There's a reason we might not last longer than 3 episodes, which we'll come to in a minute.
Why is that?
I'll come to it right now then.
You can't leave me like that. I didn't know. I'm just like, what? Why are we, what?
I'm playing a little bit, but there's a very serious website called Board Game Geek.
That is, you know what? That is a very serious website.
Yes, and
it's really not.
It's the home of board games. If you want to talk about board games online, that's probably the main place you can do it. One of the main places you can do it online.
Yes, I have been on Board Game Geek before, and I have been intimidated by how much other people know about board games. But it is a great resource.
Yeah. So there is discussions already on there about Lorcana.
Okay.
And someone's found an error already.
An error in the game?
So they've said that they hope Ravensburger and Disney have got some good proofreaders because they've read the Mickey card and they've noticed that shear is spelt S-H-E-R-A instead of S-H-E-E-R. And they're not happy about that.
Is that not because it's a pun and that shear with scissors, not shear with, as in, I don't know.
I hope you're right, and I think you are.
Okay, wait. But there is another thing that is an actual thing.
Yeah.
Is on the Elsa card, there's a tap symbol, which, as I understand it, is copyright Wizards of the Coast.
Well, it's just slightly, they've designed the symbol differently, haven't they? So that, yeah,
it's really not.
Well, I'm sure Disney understand copyright inside out. If anyone understands copyright, it's Disney.
Yeah,
so I'm sure they've looked into
fair
that.
dues.
Yeah, I'm teasing because the person who wrote the Mickey card flavor text, that's what we'll call it.
Yes.
Can you read us that, Simeon, or can somebody read us that?
Can somebody read us that? You want me to do, insert reading voice here?
Insert reading voice.
My best voice acting voice. That's not right. When defeat looms and victory hangs by a thread, a hero bolts to the rescue, patching things up through sheer determination. Did you like that?
You could do the whole thing in the cinema where they go, in a world. I like that.
He thought it was over.
Yeah, so the person who wrote the flavor text has tweeted about it already and said that they spent a day writing that, and I can see why, because it's great flavor text.
It's but it's all the reason that this captivated me. We've literally seen 7, not 8 cards, David. 7 cards, David. The reason we've only seen 7, the reason we've seen 7 cards, and we're making a podcast about this, is because all the attention to detail is incredible. Everything is just exactly right so far.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be mistakes, because everyone makes mistakes, but that's great. Shall we get on to our main topic of money?
Well, it's the Mickey card we were going to talk about.
Okay, so this is, you're leading into the Mickey card with, here's the flavor text.
Yeah.
Would you pay $200 to read that flavor text off an original printing of the Mickey card?
I probably shouldn't, but I did.
You did?
Yeah, I totally did. Would you like to see it, Simeon?
I
did promise you a surprise last week.
Oh my goodness!
And I've also brought another collection, and it's tucked away in my other collectibles here.
So before this, hang on, before we recorded this podcast, David hands me an album with a collection. Are you okay for me to say what it is? Yeah. With a stamp collection, which was some member of your family. I can't remember.
I think it was my great-grandfather's.
Oh, okay, wow.
My grandfather had it, but I think it was originally my great-grandfather's. Yeah.
And here am I flicking through, not knowing there was a $200 card.
Hidden in the pages.
You just made me Google the card to read it, and I could have read it off the... Hang on, let me read it again, only off the original printing.
It's quite small. Will you be able to?
Well, let's see whether it sounds different. When defeat looms and victory hangs by a thread, a hero bolts to the rescue, patching things up through sheer determination. It sounds exactly the same, David. So this is the Mickey card.
It's the real deal.
This is the real deal.
So somebody, I'm not going to give their name because they're not somebody I know, but
okay.
I'll call them Tess. It was somebody who I believe was female. I'll call her Tess. And She lives in a village in the heart of England. I've been to this village because I've got a relative there. There's a really good pantry there that does great vegetarian sausage rolls.
Beautiful.
And she had been to Anaheim, California, and had a great time there. We had a little discussion when I bought the card. And she was still in the card, so I bought the card. I forgot to bring it. I bought the pin badge with the card as well.
Oh, nice. That is beautiful. So seeing it in the flesh, because you know what? Okay, whoa. Not many people have seen this in the flesh yet. Mm-hmm. So we're supposing somewhere online, did they confirm it was 15,000 of these cards?
That's the rumor, but I know I haven't been able to find any confirmation, and I think.
But a lot of the people excited about this game,
yeah,
haven't ever held one of these cards.
Yeah.
So first impressions, it's in a top loader. Well done. I mean, yes.
So I messaged Tess and asked how she was going to ship it, and she said in the top loader. I'm not sure it would get like the top. I don't know about grading cards. That's about the quality of a card. I think there's some little nicks on some of the corners.
Yeah, there is some. There is a 2 top corner nicks, but I mean that's still beautiful. It doesn't. It kind of at this stage, all of these were handed out at a conference. Like none of them are going to be, or a very few percentage, I'm assuming, would be pack fresh and then put in a top loader straight away.
Yeah,
these probably were in people's pockets as they went around a convention.
A lot of them would have been.
Yeah. Well, this is lovely. The print quality is lovely. It's pretty much the same as any other trading card game. The print quality is as trading card quality is good.
I also love the logo on the reverse.
The reverse is where it's at for me because being able to, a lot of these trading cards haven't had the luxury of 2022 graphic design.
Because once you've got the reverse of your card, you've got to keep that forever for however long you keep publishing the game.
Well, some games have changed the reverse of the card, and it was really unpopular. Warhammer Underworlds did it, and people were like, "But what?" But they had already had issues with their printing where certain cards were printed with a slightly different value, so you really needed to sleeve those cards anyway. To sleeve those cards. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, you really needed to play those cards in little plastic wallets. I keep on, I really do need to keep myself in check with the geekiness. Well, this is amazing.
I'm quite excited about it. So we're talking today about the collectability of these trading card games, and particularly about Lorcana, because that's the focus of the episode.
So I'm not going to ask how much you paid for it, but I am going to
within the ballpark of what everyone's paying at the minute, which we'll talk about. Yeah,
but I am going to ask. You have played other trading card games.
Yeah.
Have you ever spent this much on a single card before?
I've never spent that much on a deck.
Have you ever spent half this amount on a card?
No.
Have you ever spent 1/10 of this amount on a card?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I'd probably say the region. I'm exactly the same. Anyway, so that sets the picture rather nicely. David?
Thank you.
You're insane.
I probably am.
I said I was going to be less judgmental.
I could be.
David, that is a lovely amount to spend on something that makes you happy.
Yeah, what we should preface this whole episode with is we're not offering financial advice. We're not offering investment advice. We're not qualified to do that. We're just talking about the value of these cards at the minute and why or why not that might be a good purchase for some people and not for others. Totally.
And this is totally opinion as well, because I mean, I've seen, like, I play down the game shop regularly and see people who have spent like literally hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. I mean, I've spent hundreds of pounds on Magic the Gathering decks, but yeah, not thousands. And you just go, great, if everybody spends their money on something, and that's brilliant. And the other thing I'd say is before David did the reveal, before we switched the microphones on, we were chatting about what's it currently looking like, so we could use some actual current figures about the prices. And yeah, I mean, I don't think those are unreasonable prices in comparison to other trading cards we have seen. I don't think that I don't think that's an unreasonable assumption to think that these things will eventually be worth more than that.
Things are worth what people are willing to pay for them, aren't they?
Totally. Yeah. No. I meant worth as in market value.
I don't think we've said the prices that these things are going for. So the Mickey card at the minute is going for between $200 and $300 and selling on eBay. So it's dropped a little since a couple of weeks ago when it launched. It was steadily going for $250, $300 then, but not as drastically as I've seen some people. Some people were saying it's going to go down to $50 in a couple of weeks, and it hasn't yet.
Yeah. And the rumors are there's around 15,000 of those.
Yeah, some people say 5,000. There's several thousand of them,
Okay.
and probably five figures. Yeah, and the sets of 6. They steadied out a couple of weeks ago around $2,000 for the set of 6 that people could have bought for $50 at the convention, and they seem to be gradually creeping up in value at the minute. But that could be minor fluctuations at the minute.
And with those cards,
couple of days,
yeah, and with those cards, we're pretty sure they said that there were 300 sets to buy each day.
Yeah, it's on record that there's 900 sets.
There's 900 sets of those cards.
So they're very, very, very limited availability of those. Yeah.
Yes, but we were talking before about how the rarity of a card isn't the only thing that makes it worth money.
Yeah.
So in other trading card games, it's not just, there are fewer of these, therefore that's worth more. That is one aspect, but cards with exactly the same rarity, cards that have had exactly the same number printed off them, are worth varying degrees based on a lot of things, based on how playable they are, based on how iconic they are, if there's iconic characters or iconic artwork on them. So there's a whole load of different things based on people guessing whether they'll get reprinted or not. That's another thing. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff. Where do you want to start?
I want to start just by talking about why would you buy something, or why is something collectible? And it's collectible because it's got an emotional connection to you. So something's worth, like I said, something's worth what you're willing to pay for it. So if that emotional connection you have to it is worth that amount of money, then I think that's the basis of the discussion. Collecting is going to be fun, and you do it within your budget.
Yeah,
and it's about, why do I like this thing? So it's about so in a lot of ways, it's what it's worth to you.
So hang on, there's two of us here, and there's only one of us has actually bought the Mickey card. So what was your logic in buying that? So you felt an emotional connection to it?
Yeah, I wanted to be part of the Lorcana story right from the start. To be honest, when I heard about Lorcana, if I could have got a ticket to Anaheim, which they'd sold out, I probably would have. I can't say I could have been able to afford it to get to California and to go there, but
you
I would have loved to have been there.
You could have made your money back on one extra set of 6 cards. But
I wouldn't have been allowed an extra set. So there was that side to it. And then the fact that we started this podcast, I was like, well, that's an amazing story. If I've got a card right from the start, I'm also making a financial judgment. I think they'll hold their value in the long term and or increase. But that's my personal opinion.
Yes.
That's not, there's lots of different factors around that. And I was careful in how I chose the card. I chose it with, for example, the pin. Yes. And I think that probably in the longer term will impact the value in terms of authenticity. I've also asked Tess if she'll send me like her lanyard from the event. She said she will. And I think that kind of thing, when you think about the longer term investment, it's nice part of the story then.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's also, it improves the authenticity of it. So there was all that going on. If I could afford $2,000, would I spend it on those other 6? Probably, but it's just way out of my budget at the moment. So
at the moment, the only reason you're not investing more in this game is affordability.
Yeah, it's relative. Yeah, relative to what are the financial priorities in my life at the minute.
Okay,
that's not one of them.
No. Obviously, everybody's in a different financial situation, but I mean, as in, that's something. Yeah, we can go that far, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm somebody who hasn't even looked if they could buy this card.
Yeah. Okay.
I have. If you said to me, "Would you? I'll cut you a good deal, and here's one at a good price." And here it is right here. Do you want it right now? My gut response is no.
Okay. So I've explained my reasoning, my thinking. What's your thinking and reasoning there?
So the emotional connection is a really big thing for me.
Yeah. Because
it's something that, I guess I don't have an emotional connection to the card because I wasn't there. So I There's no reason why I should have one other than money.
Yeah.
And I have this a lot with with the cards that I collect with Magic the Gathering, that my decks are decks from, I play Commander, which means that one card in the deck is really important for those of you who have never heard of that format before. So there's one card in the deck that is the commander of the deck, and the commander of my decks are all from when I started playing, things I cracked, things I opened in drafts, so in in-store events when I started playing, like promo cards I won early on, and that kind of thing. And even though I've upgraded some of them, I've kept the original, as in I've upgraded the card to a nicer version of the art, or to a foil or version of the art, or whatever it is. I've kept the old one in there as well, as just as a little, that's a nice thing from when I had. And while I've said I haven't, I've only, the most I've ever spent on a card was around 20 quid. I have cards that are worth more than that I've opened in events or had as prizes or something like that, or traded. And then there is that emotional connection to me. So I guess that's why there's no emotional connection. From an investment point of view, I'm just not somebody motivated by investing. If you tell me, buy this and it'll be worth more in 10 years' time, I'll be like, I don't want to sit around, to be honest. And that's probably to my detriment. That's probably not doing my bank balance any favors. But I'm not interested in like financial gain. If you tell me this is worth this much, I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. And what was the other reason you said? So emotional investment. There was actually thinking that it will go up in price, which I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. My opinion of this is: do I think that in 10 or 20 years' time
it will go up in price? That's not just I would then want to sell it. Then it's partly, I guess it depends what my financial situation is then and how much it's worth. But it's also, this might have been the best opportunity to get it at a reasonable price.
This could be the only time you could get that at that price.
And because there's only a certain amount of these, and they will be reprinted. The Mickey Mouse will be reprinted, but it won't have the D23 at the bottom. And so there might be the only chance to get this card.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So let's talk about reprints.
Yeah.
So we've seen that Ravensburger have actually on their official channels been all over Twitter saying, don't worry, these cards will be reprinted. These cards will be reprinted. They won't have the D23 little stamp in the corner. Well, they haven't actually said that. They've said that it won't necessarily be that edition of the card.
I think they actually have. I don't want to go on record and say I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they said. We're going to reprint this, but it won't have the D23 at the bottom.
They won't have the stamp, yeah. So reprints can affect a card price heavily. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that a lot with other card games, that if there are cards that they regularly reprint, they're not generally worth a lot of money. If they're cards that haven't been reprinted, or that a company have actually said and stated that they won't reprint those cards ever again, that the price holds firm. We're both saying, though, that we think these cards are going to increase in value even though they've already said they're going to reprint them in the very first set.
Yeah.
Why do we think it's going to hold firm then?
I think if you compare to other collectible card games, trading card games, and look at the first sets of those cards and the values that they fetch, I don't know if those have been reprinted or not. I know that in Magic the Gathering they're not. But
so Magic the Gathering is a bit of a unique case in that they've actually have what they call a reserve list of cards that they won't ever reprint. And there was a backlash after a few years of Magic the Gathering being a thing. There was a backlash that people had cards that they saw them as collectibles. They saw them like sports cards, that you would never reprint them, and Magic the Gathering just printed them. And collectors were saying, well, hang on, I'm buying these as a collector. So Magic the company, Wizards of the Coast, that prints them, said, we will never print those cards ever again. Now, if you look into the history of the reserve list, it's a bit of a weird thing, because things have been added and things have been taken away, and some things have actually been reprinted in different forms, and there's a lot of, is that actually a reprint, or is that... so there is a bit of a weird thing. But yeah, the Power 9, the most expensive cards in Magic the Gathering, it doesn't look like they're ever going to be reprinted in that form, and a lot of other very powerful cards as well. And those are the ones that have really skyrocketed with Magic, with With Pokemon, it's totally different though. The most expensive cards are the rarest, and there are some characters that are just more popular that just sell for a lot more. So even though Charizard is a very similar rarity to many others, as I understand it, I don't know, I'm not the biggest expert in this, but as I understand it, is just like any other rare. However, that's the one you want to open. That's the one you want to open from the original base set.
Yeah.
So that's a strange one, because they've actually said it's going to be reprinted. But I think having first edition of something is always good. And
so what's your thinking about why these particular cards will hold their value?
I think this is purely collectors. I think anybody.
It is a collector's item. It's not. This isn't going to be a card that I put into a deck. It's just worth too much money.
Well, I mean, and this is it. I've played against people who do put those cards, or that type of card, that
value of card in decks, and I just wouldn't enjoy that.
I wouldn't take that down the game shop and have someone, tip a bottle of Coke all over it. I mean, that's just not happening. However many sleeves, little plastic wallets you put them in, it's just not happening. Which, I mean, leads on to other things like proxying, like using basically photocopies of the card or other things like that, which is whatever. But yes, these are collector's items, and I think that in my opinion, that so far, Ravensburger and Disney are doing the right thing in that there are special editions of cards, but there aren't special cards. So you can...
So they're serving collectors, because they're saying if you like chasing cards that are difficult to get hold of, there will be versions of each card that are difficult to get hold of, that we'll only print a few of, and that are special for that reason. And so if you like collecting and that's your thing, you can do that. And they're also serving players by saying, if there's a card that functions in a particular way and it's useful in your deck, you'll be able to get it. It's not to say they'll all be really, really cheap, because even if cards are readily available, they can go up in value.
Of course, yeah.
But they are saying you will be able to get them if you crack open a pack of cards in your game shop. You may have one of those cards in there.
Yeah. And I think that's the essentially what needs to happen for a game to thrive. There needs to be readily available the cards that you want to play.
Yeah.
That you're not going, well, I can't get into that game because I want to play Mickey as the main card in my deck, and it's not available. And also, for card games to thrive, there was an interesting article, I think you reposted it on the Twitters, about the value of cards, and that actually for collectible card games to be healthy and be profitable for the business, there also needs to be a demand for the collector's market.
Yeah. And we'll come. There's an interesting question of, should Disney be reprinting these now? We'll come to that later, I think. But I find that quite an interesting question.
I still can't believe you spent that much on a card. I love it. I love it because I love it because I've known David now for 15 years.
Yeah.
This is not a David thing. I love it.
So one of the reasons I did it as well is I had $200 in Bitcoin. And it was just sitting there. And I was like, do I really want that to just sit there? I'm not sure about Bitcoin anyway, but it was just like a punt a few years ago. And so I would rather have that punt on something that really means something to me.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think we've already touched on the playability, but I think a lot of people who aren't trading card game enthusiasts might be going, hang on, does this mean I'm going to need a lot of money to build a deck of cards?
If you've got 40 cards in a deck, maybe that might be about the deck size. That 40 to 60 tends to be this deck size.
Yep.
And they're $200 each. That's a lot of money. I'm not doing the maths, but that's a lot of money.
No. So obviously, as soon as these cards to be on the market next autumn, they'll probably be in little booster packs, little envelopes of, 15 cards or
for
whatever.
About $5, I guess.
Probably around $5. I mean, we don't know the details yet, but yes, we're looking at
somewhere between
project.
5 and 10. If they're in line with other stuff that's around, somewhere between 5 and 10, and probably more towards the 5.
Because they've also talked about accessibility, as in the game designers have talked about accessibility, so that's obviously something on their mind. So, does one have to be rich or have a lot of disposable income to play these games? Looking at the card games, the big three. So there are 3 trading card games which are seemingly much bigger than any other trading card game, which is Magic the Gathering, Pokemon trading card game, and Yu-Gi-Oh. Looking at those, there are different answers. You could come to different answers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say you to play any of these games, you need to have some level of disposable income, and I think it's important to acknowledge that not everyone has that. There are people in the world who don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's you need some level of that. But there are people who play Magic in a way where they could just spend $10, $20 on the cheaper cards on eBay and find a fun way to play that with their friends in the kitchen. There are ways to play it where you invest $100. There are ways where you invest $1,000 in cards.
Yeah,
but I'd
totally.
say beyond that, you're getting really, really competitive and at the top level.
So, well, this is what I thought would be interesting. So what I did in my homework for this episode was I went online and I looked at the top decks in standard formats. Now, a standard format in trading card games means cards that are currently pretty much in print from the last year or 2 years that are readily available in booster packs. And I looked at those formats for the big three, and there is a huge discrepancy. So the cheapest seemed to be of meta decks. So we're talking the top level of decks.
This is on the competitive scene as well.
This is on the competitive scene.
This isn't the main way to play the game. Most people play the game with friends around the kitchen.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Yeah, obviously. I've only ever played just whatever cards we had in the Pokemon cards box with my kids, and it's been super fun to play with them. So that's, I don't feel we need to, I need to spend money on that. But yes, if you wanted to get the most competitive decks, for when you look at top 8 decks, so decks that have made the top 8 in different championships
in the world,
or regional, they're all the same. At that point, decks look very similar. People have done their homework and they know exactly the best cards to put and the ones that are most synergistic. And those decks, you're really, in Pokemon, you're looking at between $80 to $200. $200 being the most expensive decks, but most of them averaging around $100 or just over $100 for the most competitive Pokemon deck. On the other end of the scale was Magic the Gathering. It was the most expensive by far. So it was around $200 to $400 then for Yu-Gi-Oh! But Magic the Gathering, now the most competitive standard decks are around $600, which is, historically speaking, even so, I've been playing Magic the Gathering now for a good few years, and that's the most expensive I've ever seen this. This keeps on getting more and more expensive. Yeah. But I noticed there are things that Ravensburger and Disney could do.
Okay.
So the first thing we've already spoken about is reprints. So Pokemon, their resource cards and their kind of utility cards, they're reprinted absolutely tons. So they don't necessarily reprint the actual character Pokemon cards regularly, but just the support cards, the things that you put in your deck to make the game work, not because you're not excited to put them in, but you put them in, are reprinted time and time and time again. And they generally, so cheap that they might as well be free. Literally we're talking 20 cents a card for some of the utility cards that they put in. Whereas Magic the Gathering print those resource cards at rare, and they print those, and they heavily restrict when they reprint them. So the land cards and the dual land cards is what they're called, that are able to give you 2 different colors of mana to work with, are generally the best ones are printed at rare, and the best ones aren't reprinted very often. So that seems to be a big difference. And then the other difference which I noted was also collectability. In that I think that most people opening Magic the Gathering cards are players, whereas most people opening Pokemon cards are collectors. And I think that would be that's a healthier ecosystem to have, where there are a lot of people just buying the cards and opening them because that's a fun thing to do, because that gets more cards into the ecosystem, which allows the players to then pick up the cards that perhaps don't have the greatest characters on, perhaps aren't, it's not, that's Pikachu, but is a great card to win a championship with.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see there being a big collector's market, because it's Disney, isn't it?
It's Disney, yeah.
Speaking for myself, even if I had no one to play with, I assume you're going to play with me, Simeon, Lorcana, but maybe you won't. And even if you didn't, I would still want to collect the cards.
Yeah, yeah, I think we could organise a game or two. That could happen.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point around playing the game. Is yes, there are a championship. There are varying levels. However, there's a lot that the company can do to keep the price down, even at championship levels, and at just having fun with your friends. You can buy 2 booster packs and play them against each other in any trading card game, and that's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and I'd say championships, as I understand it, are an important part of a game's ecosystem and promotion. So if a game has a competitive scene, that helps it do well and means it's more likely to last the course. And I also think having highly valuable cards like we've got in Lorcana at the minute helps with the promotion of a game.
Yeah.
Because I'm keeping up to date on any articles that come out. Most of the articles coming out at the minute are about these high-value cards. That's what people are talking about. That is a talking point.
That is a real talking point. On the other point, though, on the championships, have they announced anything about organised play?
As far as I can remember, I think it was in the very early press releases. They're like right from the start. There's going to be competitive ways to play this, and we want to make it fun to play with friends too. They were like, we want to do both. Yeah,
because I think that even though casual is, as in just fun games with friends, is how most people play this, there's also something about seeing people online doing really well, and there being prizes and tournaments and seeing people do really well.
Yeah,
it's the same. Football, having a kick around, that's kind of fun, isn't it? But it's also really enjoyable to see people actually do play at a really high standard.
And there's something in human psychology that makes it more fun to kick around the football than play another sport, but that's not on television.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, it's a weird one, but yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, so far, I think they're doing, from what we can see, they're doing the right thing in that they're catering for collectors and for players.
Yeah.
So that hopefully will bring the price down. They're talking a lot about accessibility. They're talking about doing organised play. So these are all.
And we're talking about bringing
things.
the price down for players primarily. So if you just want to enjoy the game, the price comes down. If you want to collect, we can't say where prices will go, and they've already gone, I think, beyond what anyone expected. Like the $250, that's, from what I've seen online, that's like a mid-level first edition Magic card.
Oh yeah, that's still an expensive card. That's still an expensive card in any reasonable sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk some expensive cards in other games.
Okay.
So in preparation for this, I was like, okay, I'm going to look up some really expensive cards, and I play Magic the Gathering, so I just went on and got that. And there's been very famously recently, Post Malone off of the Pop Star. He's done some music for ears to listen to.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying for my lack of pop culture knowledge.
David's face just glazed over. Anyway, he bought a Black Lotus, which is the legendary Magic the Gathering card. If you have
It's not a car, it's a card.
Card, yes. Did I say car?
You said Black Lotus, which could be a car.
Oh, yes, you're totally right. It's not a Lotus Elise. So, yes, he bought that trading card. It was a signed artist's proof, which is when they make a trading card, they send the artist the actual printed card just for the artist to check over and go, yes, that's what I want the art to look like. But it's white on the back, so it hasn't got the trading card back on it. So this is kind of like a special edition thing. The artists then often give those to fans or sell those. Anyway. So Post Malone bought this card for $800,000.
Gosh, wow.
Now, I thought this was a lot of money until I actually...
It is a lot of money.
Okay, yes. Sorry, yes, it is a lot of money. And then I was like, oh, didn't Jake Paul buy the most expensive Pokemon card recently? We looked this up. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, sorry, I'm just reading this. It says the Pokemon Illustrator card, which is a PSA 10, which basically means it's been graded and somebody's looked at this under the microscope and said this is perfect, there's no flaws on it, was bought by Jake Paul for $5,275,000 US.
just unthinkable, isn't it? Just some people just have way loads of money that I don't have. That's probably more than I'll ever earn in my life.
Yeah,
Almost certainly 5 lifetimes.
Wait, this podcast's going to take off. We're going to be the next Jake Paul. Why not?
I don't know who Jake Paul is. You're going to have to clarify this.
Oh, you know what? Apart from just being generally famous, I don't know what he is either. What his job is? What does he do? YouTuber? Possibly. I've no idea. Anyway, and also, what are you talking about? That Disney Lorcana card sat right there that you bought. That could be the next
$5 million. No,
probably.
No, there's several thousand of them. There's not just one.
So what? Hang on. What is it? Wait. What is it that makes? I was going to say your irrational purchase, but it's not irrational, is it? But anyway, so what is it?
Well, it's an emotional purchase.
Yeah.
Right.
What is it that makes
decision.
your?
It's not a crunch numbers. Go on.
What is it that makes your purchase of 10 cents worth of cardboard and ink, less than that, for $200 or whatever it is you pay for it? What is it that makes that like, oh, okay, I can see that, but your reaction to Jake Paul spending $5 million was visceral?
Yeah, no. I guess I guess for some people, there's a lot of people who would have a visceral reaction to me spending $200. There are in the Lorcana groups, there are people who are really angry about the price of the cards at the minute.
Okay, well, hang on. This is a really interesting thing. Human emotion, much more interesting than money. Let's touch on that. Why are people angry?
I guess because they want it and they don't have it, and it's like a really desirable thing.
See this? I've seen this. I've seen people get really het up that Disney should reprint these immediately.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why can't you wait for a year? I feel like
the Ravensburger have said they're all going to be available. So,
they're all going to be available, so we can wait. Oh, they should reprint them with the stamp from the event, and I'm just like, why? I guess from my point of view, there are lots of things in life that I would like, and I simply can't have. I'd love a Ferrari. I can't have a Ferrari. That's fine.
And I guess it's a kind of paradox, isn't it? Because if Disney reprinted them with that logo, no one would want them because they'd be people. They wouldn't be so exciting and interesting. They wouldn't have that kind of mystique around them. That there's only a few of them in the world, and that they've got this value because they wouldn't have the same value.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, that's just they haven't thought that through, is it? Oh, you want one? Oh, great, we've reprinted these into the ground with the logo on. It's not special anymore.
Well, for some people it would be.
Okay,
I think we need to be fair for maybe for quite a significant number, but there is definitely a strong sense that the fact that it's difficult to get hold of makes it more interesting.
Yeah,
that's the whole collector's thing. That's what collecting is. It's a limit. Why are so many things that people collect printed in limited editions? Because when something's less available, it's more interesting.
Yeah. So I still got just
what question were you trying to ask me? Were you trying to ask me how I rationalise the purchase? Like what's
No, well, you've already answered that, and I think you answered that well. There's one last thing though about your particular. And you've spoken about this a little bit already, but I think we're both relatively experienced at buying trading cards online. Yeah. I've been burnt different times and had either the wrong thing sent or something that I didn't think was real and things. Yeah. So what can people do to make sure that if they are spending this amount online, if they are like you, David, wanting to make this purchase, what are David's top tips? Once again, not advice, just opinion.
Yeah, I'm not a card authenticator, and I think part of what helped me make the decision that this would be okay is how quickly I bought it after the event. So there's not going to be a huge if people start to print fraudulent versions of them or fakes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was part of my thinking is there's not yet been time for people who are printing fakes to get in on this. Mm-hmm. So it's very likely to be real. The fact that it came with the pin, that for me that was significant. And that I was dealing with an eBayer. And I suppose this is something that anybody can check. I was dealing with an eBayer with good feedback.
Yes.
So that is something that anybody can check. But I do acknowledge that it's a risk. And it could be a fake card. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, there is that risk, isn't there? Yeah, you're totally right. It's unlikely, but
There are,
yeah.
I know there are authentication services that you can check it through, and I think you've told me that eBay in the US is at least starting to do this themselves.
Yeah,
If a
so-
certain card is worth over a certain value, I'm not sure they're doing it with Lorcana yet, but with other trading card games, they are,
Yes.
and trading cards in general, they're authenticating them when they're over. eBay are doing it themselves when it's over a certain value.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, the last thing that I'd say is that if you're looking to spend, well, if something looks like it's too good to be true, the chances are it's too good to be true. And whenever I've gone to spend a sizable amount, on a trading card, which I have, I mean, I say a sizable amount. I suppose for me, a tenner is a lot on a card.
It is a lot. You
yeah.
can buy lots of games in and of themselves
For
that amount of money,
yeah, totally. Yeah, so if I'm looking to buy 5 cards that are a tenner each, I go through a seller that is recognised. So yeah, there are lots of good recognised shops that sell these cards. Brilliant. Is there anything, before we move on to our other topics, is there anything else you wanted to say about the price of these cards, David?
What are our other topics?
Well, David, aren't you looking forward to the game?
The game.
We're going to play another game.
I've got so much to say, Simeon. I think we're going to be here all night with all I've got to say. I'm not sure we'll have time for any games.
And we've also got some listener questions, and we also still need to hear from the child.
There's so much else we could talk about this, so maybe we'll come to some more of this stuff in another episode. But I want to give you time for your quiz, Simeon.
So
I should clarify. I don't want to give you time for my quiz. I'm being peer pressured into this quiz.
I love this. I love that you just turn up here. You think, oh, I'm going to have a lovely chilled out evening with Simeon. What's he going to do?
I actually have no idea what you're going to do.
Torture
Simeon.
you.
It's the truth.
Okay, let me find it.
Maybe I can get out of the quiz if I just tell you that your face is handsome, regal, and majestic. It's such a cuddly face, Simeon.
Is this another Disney quote?
It is.
Am I supposed to say something in response to that?
You're supposed to say, that's me to a T. It truly is.
It really is. It really is. Amazing. I don't know what movies that's from, but if you do, go onto Twitter and tweet us at Lorcana Podcast. I can't do that. I can't be that cheesy.
Send us a GIF. Send us a GIF of the scene.
Oh, there you are, at Lorcana Podcast on Twitter. That's such a cheesy segue. Anyway, so our quiz today is called
Actual quiz, yeah.
is called Disney or Disn't-ney. So I'm going to read you a list of characters. It's going to be quick fire because I know that,
I want to run away even more now I know the title. Go on.
you have to tell me if the character is Disney or if it isn't Disn't-ney. So I'm going to read the characters and you say Disney or Disn't-ney.
So if it is a Disney character, I say Disney. And if it's not a Disney character...
No, if it isn't a Disney character...
If it is not a Disney character, I say Disn't-ney.
It's Disn't-ney. Because
Okay. So my pronunciation is quite important because they sound quite similar.
Okay, great. Are you ready?
No, but let's go.
Okay. Waddles the pig.
Disn't-ney.
No, it's Disney. It's from Gravity Falls. Princess Fiona.
Disn't-ney. That's from Shrek, which isn't Disney.
Yeah, well done. Marcus Mouse.
Disn't-ney.
It's Disney. It's it's Minnie Mouse's dad and has appeared in only one comic strip.
Wow, okay. That
Basil.
was harsh. Basil the what? I'm going to say Disney.
Basil the Great Mouse Detective.
Yeah, I'm going to say Disney.
From the 1980s, yes, Disney. Coraline.
Disn't-ney.
Disn't-ney. Yeah, you're totally right. That was a kind of, I wanted to trip you up there. Most of Tim Burton's stuff is Disney, but this isn't.
You're crediting me with knowledge that I don't have. Other than Princess Fiona, these are wild stabs in the dark.
Primarina.
Disney.
Disn't-ney. It's a water and fairy type Pokemon. Wheezy.
Disney.
Wheezy the Penguin, yes, off of Toy Story. One of my
I was
favourite
going
characters.
for something from Winnie the Pooh, but there we go. Weasels, isn't it? Weasels.
Coral.
Sounds like something from The Little Mermaid, so I'm going to say Disney.
Correct, but wrong movie. It's Nemo's mum.
Okay.
And Spider-Man.
It feels like a trick question. It's not Walt Disney Studios, is it? So I'm going to say Disney. It's Marvel.
Okay. Well, it is Marvel. It's currently one of those weird bits where Marvel had already sold it off to Sony. So even though
okay.
Marvel is Disney, Spider-Man.
So I did say Disney,
is
so I
contended.
was right, even though I didn't understand the technical reasons why I was right.
Great. I can't be bothered to count up your scores, but you did very well.
I got maybe half right.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for humouring me.
You're welcome.
Shall we go to some listener questions, starting with a question for the child?
Yes, let's do it.
Child, it's great to have you back. How are you doing today?
Good.
Battlejacks on Reddit has a question for you.
Battlejacks, okay.
That's his username. I don't think that's his real name.
I was like, the doctor's like, what are you going to call him? It was like, Battlejacks. I was like, it's not a name.
Yeah, I don't. Well, maybe it is his real name.
Maybe.
So don't be mean about it, just in case.
Just in case. He'd probably not.
Okay, so Battlejacks has asked,
Yes.
what do you think about resale value? Now, that is a thing. Do you need me to explain that to you?
I think I know what real sale value is.
Real sale value.
Real. People buying stuff and then the price is going up.
That's right. So people have bought the cards at D23, this
Yes.
expo, and they're reselling them on eBay
For
for $2,000 for 6 cards.
6.
That's a lot of money.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's $2,000.
Yeah.
$2,000. Okay, you've got $2,000.
Yeah.
If you want to sell these 6 cards, hasn't come out.
Well, these 6 have come out, but
Yes,
there's only
but
900
these 6
sets.
have come out.
Uh-huh.
I mean, not fully yet, but come out. And people have bought them at this expo. And they decided to sell them for 2,000. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So
And people are buying them at that price.
people are buying those 6 cards for 2,000.
Yes.
I feel like that would be a fine price because there's only like 900 of them or something. But then again, I think 1,000 or a bit higher, maybe 1,500, I don't really know, would be a bit better for something like this.
Okay.
But 2,000 is a bit over the top.
Yes. If you had $2,000,
Yes.
what would you do with $2,000?
I don't know. If I had $2,000, buy stuff. If this was on sale for 2,000, and there was this other thing for 2,000 that looked really cool,
Yeah.
don't think I'll buy that.
So
I think
let
I'll
me
buy
give you
them.
some options. You could have Domino's every day for months.
Yes. That would make me very fat.
Or you could buy every Switch game that you wanted.
If I had to pick, I would buy every Switch game I wanted. Because most popular Switch games, 50. And if I spent 50
Yeah.
every day, it would take me about 400 days or so. I don't really know.
That would be, that's a lot of money to spend on Switch games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, amazing. Will you come back next week and talk about another topic?
Yeah.
Brilliant. All
What's
right.
the other topic?
I don't know. All right, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sending in that question on Reddit. If you have questions of your own, you can send them in using just anywhere. Just find us.
If you have quiz questions, you can send those in too.
Oh, yeah. If you'd like to write a quiz, I'm running out of ideas and still want to torture David even more. So, yeah, feel free to get in touch. We have one other question on this topic, which came in via Twitter. And this is from @Lorcana Decks. The name they've chosen is Lorcana Deck Lists, which I feel like Lorcana Podcast was already a little bit premature, but Lorcana Deck List, well done. I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy or girl or person, I'm looking forward to what this human is going to do with their platform. And they asked, given the extreme collectability of early sets of long-running TCGs, trading card games, and the huge collectability of Disney merch, are you worried about the availability of Lorcana packs at launch?
Yeah.
So we've talked about availability of the wider game, and I think we both agree that at launch, once it's up and running, a few months in,
everything will be available to everybody who wants to, and it won't be too expensive.
my my kind of overarching kind of oh, okay, this is going to be okay, is because Disney make a lot of products, and for them to make money, they need to sell a lot of these products to people who want the products, and they tend to they seem to do a pretty good job at that. You know, you can get the things you want, even when there's pinches in the market. You can eventually buy whatever Disney product it is you want.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. I think if anybody can launch a trading card game and have the packs available, it's one of the biggest entertainment franchises. I think that Disney has a record of, back in the olden days, of they have distribution networks where when a Blu-ray or a DVD was launched, they could get that into every shop and they could have enough at launch weekend for everybody to watch the movie at home. Back when we watched DVDs and videos and Blu-rays. So I think that that's pretty good. Now, I know that a lot of trading card games have really struggled at launch to get enough packs into people's hands. And in some way, there is going to be some business manager is going to have to make a decision and press the button, hopefully a very informed decision about how many packs to ship where.
Yeah, they'll have done their research.
They'll have done their research.
On how many, yeah.
But I'm relatively optimistic.
Yeah. So I guess we're not a million miles apart. So for people who are really into this game, so that's people listening to this podcast a year before launch.
Yeah.
If you're that on it and you order plenty in advance and you order from a trusted seller,
yeah,
I don't think you have any issues getting your packs that you want. Will there be people who want packs near launch or at launch who don't get them? I think that will probably happen too. So I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think it's better for Disney and Ravensburger, and I think this will be part of their number crunching. This is me speculating.
Of course.
But I guess my guess is
this whole
part of
podcast,
their number crunching will be it's better for the game to sell out than to have thousands or millions of decks.
Yeah, I see what you. I mean, I don't disagree with
Yeah.
you. That is there. Yeah, that having we print wave one, and this is we do this many, and if it sells out, that would be better than it being sat around in dead stock. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. But at the same time, they've talked up so much about how much accessibility they want for the game.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, maybe there is that. I know in lockdown there were issues with people getting hold of Pokemon cards from shops, and they just sell out. And certain shops were like, I just can't be bothered to stock
but
this
can
anymore.
you still buy Pokemon cards now? Yes.
Yeah, of course you can.
And that's
can you
it.
buy
So
those same sets that were scarce then? Can you still buy unopened packs now? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing. Another way people have, and I'm not saying this is a great solution. I'm just saying this is something that has happened, is that a lot of gaming companies are now selling direct on Amazon. So direct to consumer with their own branded stores.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't necessarily like the practice because I like going into my local gaming shop and picking up stuff there, and I like that the person behind the counter is knowledgeable and has a job and will sit and chat geeky stuff with me for half hour. That's fun. However, if there's any a lot of gaming companies have kind of ameliorated that, kind of made that supply issue slightly better by just saying, okay, if you can't pick it up in your local game store because it's because the distribution's messed up, we will ship it to you directly.
Yeah, that's true too. And I think for me, so Amazon's a good trusted way to buy it. And it's about finding a trusted seller, because I've been buying board games a long time, and there's some sellers online, they tend to be the ones with the cheaper prices, where I've pre-ordered things and the order's been cancelled. And there are others where I've wanted to pre-order things, and I know that this particular website is the one handling the pre-orders for that game, and they've said, no, we're not taking your order until we know exactly how much stock we've got. Come and talk to us in 2 months. Now, for something that I really want, I'd much rather go to the cautious seller than the one that sells more than they potentially will then get in stock.
Yeah, you're totally right. There is that whole thing of people just going, I'll just take the pre-orders for as many people as I can, and then
and hope that I can get those from Ravensburger or whoever's distributing, and they might not be able to. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you very much at Lorcana Dex on Twitter for your question. If there are other questions that you've asked us online that we haven't gotten to, it's because we've got relevant episodes. And we want to save those questions for those episodes when it's actually relevant to the episode. It's almost like we're planning this. I mean, that's
you're making us sound like we're good at content, Simeon.
Oh, I don't know about that. Okay, anyway, so this has been episode 3. Another thing that I wanted to talk about just before we go is we have been doing these weekly. I don't know when we're recording again, but it probably be somewhat soon as well. So expect these either weekly or maybe every 2 weeks for the next few episodes. At some point, we are going to run out of content before.
Run out of things to talk about.
Run out of things to talk about
Believe
before
it or
the
not.
game.
Believe it or not.
Before the game launches. I don't know if we'll take a break or not then. We've no idea. But for now, we're having fun and we're trying to do these
There was
weekly.
a fun thing on Twitter this week where citizens of Lorcana, who's a
very active user, loving their stuff. Yes,
tweeted Ravensburger, North America, saying, "You've not given any announcements about the game. Can you at least give us an announcement about upcoming announcements?"
Beautiful.
And then they replied and said, "Yes, we're busy at work preparing these announcements. So keep the eye on the socials." So I do think that Lorcana, Disney, Ravensburger will be building up anticipation and drip feeding information through the year. So I do think we'll have things to talk about. Maybe not weekly for the whole year, but I don't think there'll suddenly be okay, we've done 5 of these, 6 of these, 7 of these, and then we've run out of things to talk about until a year's time. I think there will be stuff that comes up that'll be quite exciting for us to come back to.
Amazing. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on whatever app it is you're using, or the plus button or whatever it is. That will really help us out. If you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, it's at Lorcana Podcast. We're also at Lorcana Podcast on TikTok. And if you want to email us, it's lorcanapodcast@gmail.com. Any final words, David?
Not this week, no, Simeon.
That's so profound.